And the word beekeeper came across my mind. Isn't that a lovely term? Well, it's not holy, but it's pretty close to sacred. Beekeeper. What a lovely, lovely term to describe a person. On the way in this morning, I asked Mary how many hives does she have? And she said 180. How many bees do you think that is? Well, more than all the fingers and toes in this room. That's a bunch. They're all over the county. And bees are pollinators, and they're producers. Bees are absolutely critical for our life and all the things that we eat. Mary is from Wagram. She's already been hugged by Sarah. She's been waved at by most of you. So the wonderful thing about being a local. Now, she's agreed that when you have a question during her presentation, you ask it. She will be with us to answer everything, and then she will stay for lunch. One of the joys of my life is to ride out to the store with great regularity, and not only to buy honey, but just to talk with Mary. She is one of God's lovely people. And I feel privileged, and we are privileged to have you here, my dear.
What a nice introduction. Thank you so much. I'm so pleased that he asked me to come talk to you guys today. My name is Mary Stone, and from Wagram, Apiary, my husband and I have the bee farm. When many years ago, when we were both 16, he asked me out on a date. And just so happens that night, my dad was taking honey off from our hives. And instead of us going out somewhere, he stayed there and helped my dad take that honey off. And ever since then, he wanted bees of his own. And finally, close to 20 years ago, we got our first couple of hives. And I didn't see him for the next few years. He took a chair out in the field where the hives were and just sat and just watched. He would sit beside the hive, if this was the hive. He would sit there and just watch them. He learned real quick not to sit in front of them because you block their flight pattern, and they don't like that. But he would sit beside them and just watch and learn by watching. And he mentored with the Bill Shepard, who was a state bee inspector. Bill had a lot of book knowledge, but more than that, he had a lot of common sense and what had worked for generations in beekeeping. So that's how we got into the business of beekeeping. And he said, if we're going to do this, let's try to grow the business to where we'll have enough honey for us and enough for the community. And that's been our goal. And 180 hives, that's today. Tomorrow, we may have more or less because you may catch a swarm or you may lose a hive. They may decide to go somewhere else. We try to prevent that. And being a beekeeper is just that. We keep the bees. We try to take care of them as you would your family. We have to provide them a place to stay, a place that they like to stay, plenty of room in that place because you don't want to be too crowded. We have to make sure that they have enough to eat. Right now at our shop, if you pull in, there's all these small 5-frame hives all the way around. And I think there's 83, 84 of them, something like that. And that's where we have gone in hives and made splits, hives that had too many bees in it. And we took part of those bees out so they would have enough room, the ones left, put a new queen with them. Well, in that new hive, they have no food stored. So this time of year, we feed them a mixture of sugar water and some vitamins, something called Honey Bee Healthy. It smells wonderful. It smells like lemongrass. If I was a bee, I would like it. But that attracts them to it, and that helps them build up to they're able, big enough, and they've gone out and got enough that they can do themselves. Sir?
You gotta have too many bees.
Yes, sir.
Take that part off, and they have a queen.
No, we buy a new queen and put in with them.
For the ones you take out.
Yeah, the ones we take out. We leave the queen with the old hive.
Okay, so you can see where the queen is in the old hive?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we make sure we don't take her out.
Okay, so she stays with,
The old ones, yeah. And the new ones come in a little cage. I should have brought one of those cages today. They're really cute. They're tiny. And the end of it has a hole that's stuffed with this, it's not really hard candy, it's a hard fondant. And we put that in there so that they can get used to their smell before they can actually get to her. It takes the worker bees 2 or 3 days to eat that candy out of that hole so she can get out. And in that time, they have become accustomed to her smell, and they will accept her. If we just stuck her in there, they're liable to kill her. They have to get used to her and accept her first. But I brought some of the tools that we use. I have a little poster here of a beekeeper, okay? And he's doing some work, checking the hives. Just like I said, we have to make sure they don't have any diseases. Now, when my dad had the bees, I don't remember him working in them nearly what we did. But today, the United States has varroa mites, we have trachea mites, we have foul brood disease, a lot of things that have come in from other countries and things with all the trade, the shipping, you know, everything. It eventually makes its way to us. And it's a real job to keep them healthy. To keep a hive alive is much, much harder than it used to be. We check them to make sure that if they are sick or something's going on or we see some mites, we use natural herbicides or insecticides to kill whatever. That does not affect the bees, the wax, or the honey. Something we use is called thymol. It's made from thyme. And I have read where long ago, before they had thymol, that beekeepers would plant thyme around their beehives to keep the beetles out, hive beetles. So, you know, we try to keep it as natural as possible. And the feeding that we do, once the hives are big enough and they're out in the field and we put a honey super on that hive, that's one this size. Where they're going to put the honey at, you do not feed them sugar water because they will mix it in with the honey, and you don't want that. It throws it off. It's not a good taste. You'll know if you come across any. But one of the things we use as a beekeeper is this, and I'm sure a lot of you know what this is. It's a smoker. The reason we use that, imagine this is the beehive, okay? Or this house even. Say we're all bees. If somebody just whacked off that roof, we'd be pretty upset, wouldn't we? I would. I wouldn't like it. So we gently smoke the bees because when they smell smoke, they're like us. They think fire. And they also think we may have to leave our home. So they go down in the frames, eat as much honey as they can because they want to take some food with them. They have a honey stomach. They store it in. And they're ready if they need to leave, if there is actually a fire. And when we eat a big meal, what do we want to do? Take a nap. That's what the smoke does eventually to the bees. You smoke them, you wait a minute, they've got their bellies full of food, and they're kind of like, take the top of our house. We don't care. We're just kind of here, you know. So basically, that's the reason you smoke them. You hear people say you smoke the bees to calm them, but that's the actual what happens, is they eat that. And they're much less likely to sting you if they've got a belly full of food. Because in order to sting you, they have to cock that stinger around to sting you. And with that big full belly, they can't really do it very well. You may still get stung, but nothing like you would otherwise if you had not smoked them. And in this area, my daddy used blue jeans, old blue jeans that Mama saved in the rag bag. He would cut them up, and that's what he lit on fire, stuffed it full, and smoked them. Now in this area, we have plenty of pine trees, and that makes plenty of pine needles. So we take a bunch of pine needles, light it on fire, stuff it in there, and then stuff this thing absolutely to the gills with pine needles. You just want it to smoke. You don't want it to burn. A lot of beekeepers kind of look at other beekeepers and rate them on how long they could keep their smoker going. So my husband can keep one lit for at least half a day on one thing of pine needles and just smoke them like that. Our son is here today from Charleston. He came up about 1:30 this morning, got in, and to help his dad. He wants to eventually take over the bee yards for us. And so my husband made him like the smoker this morning, and he was like the pressure, you know. So that's one of the things that we use and why we use it. This, which this guy right here has a yellow one in his hand, if you can see that. This is something you don't want to lose, but you lose a lot of them. Order a bunch of these every year because it doesn't matter how hard we try to keep up with them, we'll set one down and lose it. But bees make this substance called propolis. It's bee gorilla glue, basically. It's a sticky substance they make. They don't want any gaps in their home. So this, if you tried to just lift this top off like that of a real beehive, it ain't happening. They have that glued on there. You need this tool to stick up under there and prise it up. It's got more uses than that. You've got a little curved on this one here. You've got a little curved tail that you can take, and it hooks right around a frame and helps you pull a frame up. It's got scrapers because sometimes the bees will make comb on top of the frames, and you've got to scrape it off. I've made my husband a belt that has a big long magnet on it, so he can just take his and do that. Still manages to lose a few of these, but he can keep up with it. This is one of the most important things. Yes, sir.
I asked a stupid question the other day. Do they make the honeycomb and the honey?
Yes.
And the different bees make the comb and the other bees make the honey?
Yes. Well, what it is, bees, when they're after a few days old, up till about 2 weeks old, they have glands on their belly that secrete little flakes, tiny flakes of wax. Okay? Now, when we put wax in the hive, this is it's a deep, called a deep. This goes in the brood box, the box on the bottom here, the bigger box. This is where they have the babies and they take care of them. Everything's happening where the queen should be on this. And this is I'll let you guys see this. We use bobby pins to hold them in too. They make little pins that are just for that. But bobby pins work just as well and are a lot cheaper. But if you guys want to pass that round, you can. It's flat like that. And then they will draw that out with comb that they have made themselves and that comb, and it will look like this. It's perfect octagon. If you cut this way in half like this, you can see that these cells are actually tilted a tiny bit so that the honey doesn't run out. And they will when they get this all out on this one, this is a honey super. It's smaller because those get really heavy if they're full of honey. Honey is extremely heavy. But they will start filling it with honey when it's like this.
Once they fill it up, they move to another one?
Yes, they will. So you have to constantly check them. Right now is the honey flow, okay? It's where they're gathering stuff right now this time of year, and in about late July, August. This area, we are super fortunate. We have 2 honey flows. So we can take honey off twice a year, which is amazing that we get to do that.
Mary, they built this stuff?
Yeah, it went in the hive looking like that one.
On both sides of that?
Yeah, And they use those little flakes and pulled it out, and they will also.
Not like plastic.
They do make plastic ones, and people will dip them in wax. We prefer the real ones like this.
What do you mean the real?
It's real wax.
Oh,
It's
it's real
beeswax.
wax.
Yeah, it's not plastic that they build on. The bees seem to do better with anything that's natural rather than not. I
So
mean,
is that manufactured from beeswax
Yes.
in a factory or something?
yes, it is.
And the bees-
We buy these because they have, see these, it's got lines in it. Those are tiny wires. When we spin the honey out, we have an extractor that spins like a centrifuge. If those little wires aren't on there, when it spins so fast, it tends to break apart, and then you've got a real mess. And this helps hold it all in one piece. So that one is one that's been used. We have slung the honey out of it, and after we do that, we set it outside, and the bees, if there's any honey left on it, the bees will come and get it and clean it up and make it just like that. So it's ready for next year.
So the bees created this?
Yes. Yes. They pulled these out. The little shape is kind of imprinted in there, but they do all the work of making that. We try to do that, save those. It is. If you notice, there's no space wasted. They are very efficient.
They don't mind using one that's already been made.
Oh, no, they would rather have that than this. They would much rather have that.
You don't have to work as hard.
That's right. And they could make, for making a pound of wax, it takes the same energy and everything as if they were to make 4 pounds of honey. So I would rather have 4 pounds of honey than 1 pound of wax. And, Another thing we use, especially me, because I'd been getting stung my whole life, and about 3 or 4 years ago I got stung one time and ended up in the ER. So I try really hard not to get stung anymore. We use special gloves, special clothing. I'll pass one of these around if you want to look at it. It's the cleanest one I could find, okay? But the material on that allows air to come in and out, because you work in the bees in the hottest time of the year, and it's really hot. So if you have any air that can get in and out, that's what you want. I'll trade you. Anybody else want to see this? Do you guys want to see it? Okay. So that allows for air to travel through, but it is thicker than a bee's stinger. So even though there's little holes in it, they can't get their stinger into your skin, okay? And this is definitely not mine, as you can tell. I do have one, but this one is not mine. Again, this was the cleanest one I found. We have about 10 of these, different sizes. And it covers your head, covers down to your wrist, elastic around the ankles, zips up, Velcros. If you get all of this closed, the bees cannot get to you, okay?
You're sweating pretty good.
I'm sorry?
But you'd be sweating pretty good.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, it's not a clean business. Now, this is our grandson. This was taken last summer when he was 5. He has a bee suit. We got it for our oldest granddaughter when she was 5, and she is 22 now. So all the grandkids have worn this. The first time he went into bees, he was a little skeptical at first, but once he realized that as long as he was wearing this and he had the gloves, they couldn't get him, he got upset if they did not crawl all over him. He would stick his hands right in there and wanted them to crawl up his arm. He loves it. And we try to encourage the next generation, you know. But, so that's a little bit of what we use to protect us, to protect the bees, to help them stay healthy.
What would you say is your average hourly time that you spend in the beehive today? Depending on the beehive.
This time of year, my husband goes in. We have an industrial painting company too. So he goes in like 5:30 in the morning, gets them all going. And by 8 o'clock or so, when it's warm enough, he's in the bees. And he will stay in the bees till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon this time of year. Now in the winter, when the bees are basically dormant, we're in the shop building these frames, building those boxes, of course bigger, you know. But there's something to do year round. You don't get to take time off.
Where do you put the bees in the wintertime on the street?
Leave them in the field. In this area, we can leave them in the field. They try to keep it 90-some degrees year round in that hive. If it's hot, they will fan their wings like air conditioner and get it down to the 90-something degrees. Excuse me, allergies, and believe me, I'm taking honey. But in the winter when it's cold, they can somehow flex their muscles and create heat. If you put your hand on the side of it and it's 30 degrees outside, the side of the hive will be warm.
Can you hear them humming in there?
Yeah, you can.
Oh.
You can. Yeah.
How many people work with you there?
Me and Jeff and our son Jake when he comes up. Now, Jeff had open heart surgery in February this year. So there's been several weeks that the guys from our industrial painting company became beekeepers. Because it was a busy time of year, time to make splits and things. So Jeff would ride with them and tell them what to do, and they did. They're a great group of guys, and they were willing to jump in there and do whatever needed to be doing. But normally, it's just us. Jake comes up when he can. Jake is actually moving back in June after the little one over there gets out of school this year. They're going to move back to the Wagram area. He wants to take over the business and expand it more, enough to make a living just off of that. But in the hive, I'm going to go on, there are 3 kinds of bees. Of course, the big imperial is the queen, okay? When they need a queen, if the old one dies, something happens, they pick a special egg. They decide which one looks the best, and they will feed it something called royal jelly that they make from glands on their head. Don't ask, I don't know how that works. But it causes her female organs to develop, okay? So she is much longer than the worker bees. All of this is developed in her from that royal jelly. And once she hatches, and also while I'm thinking about it, there is a queen cell up here. Afterwards, you can all come up and look and see there's a queen. They have started a queen cell on that. Probably because they were thinking they were going to run out of room and they would need to divide. But her only job, when she hatches, she takes her maiden flight. She will fly up in the air, and there's always drones up there, the boys, that are looking for a virgin queen. She will mate with up to 5, 6 different drones, okay? and she has a special sac where it's called a spermophilia sac, and she can keep all of that sperm in there from the drones. She decides after that, once she takes that one flight, she goes back to the hive, and she usually does not leave. She can lay up to 1,500 eggs a day.
Wow.
She decides if she's laying a boy or a girl, depending on what the hive needs. 99% of the time, it's going to be a girl. The girls, the workers, they are smaller. They're not as long as she is, but they do all the work. They take care of the babies. They feed the babies. If there's an egg that's hatching, it hatches after a couple of days. They will visit it up to 200 times a day, making sure it's got food, it's got what it needs, it's okay, there's no trash, everything. They take care of the babies. They take care of the queen. She does not wash herself. She does not feed herself. They bring the food to her. They will clean up after her. There's different ones do different things. And then there's the foragers. They're the ones we see out here flying around. They can fly up to 5 miles, but generally around 1.5 miles to look for food. And
The mic
when,
a little closer.
yes, ma'am.
The microphone a little closer.
Oh,
to-
sorry. I'm not used to this. Sorry. Yeah, but when they find something that they think is a good food source, they will fly back to the hive and go in, and they do something that I tell the kids in school, or is the waggle dance. And they will waggle around and do this, and they make a pattern, and somehow from that dance, the other bees will know where a certain bunch of flowers is 2 miles from there. And they can go straight to it from that waggle dance. It's something to do with orientation to the sun, but I don't know how it works. I'm just glad it does. I tell people that I think God made all the other animals on earth, and when he finally got it right, the last thing he made was a bee. They are just so smart. They are incredible, the things they do. And the drone, there's probably a drone in there. I haven't really looked at these yet this morning. But that's the boy bee, okay? He's got one job. He doesn't make honey. He doesn't clean up. He doesn't do anything. About 10 o'clock in the morning, he and his buddies fly up in the air and look for a queen on her virgin flight. And if they haven't found anybody about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they'll fly back to the hive and wait till the next day. Sit around, eat some food. Just wait for, that's all they do. They don't do anything else. Now, in the fall, when the queen slows down laying eggs and they get ready to go into the winter, they don't need these boys. There's no queens being hatched then. And those boys are just eating their food and making a mess in their house. So they kick them out. And if they fly back in, one of the workers will get her friends. They'll surround him. They'll chew his wings off and kick him out again so he cannot come back. And then in late January, 1st of February, when things are starting to kick up again, this queen knows that the hive's going to need some boys, and she'll start laying boy eggs. So that just amazes me.
Where does that
What they
queen
do.
you purchased come from? The queen you purchased,
Um,
where does that one come from?
This year, we got queens from Hawaii.
Yeah, I mean, how does it get, it didn't have a.
Okay, you can take, I have tried, I am terrible at it, but you can get a kit to help you rear queens yourself. And you can take an egg, you have to take it off of a frame that has eggs in it, one that's just been laid, and pick it up out of there and put it into a queen cap is something you buy. And you do this for many different eggs, and you put them in a special little box that keeps them warm. and put a bunch of other bees in there, and they will, since there's no queen in there, they'll try to raise all of them as queens, okay? And when they're getting ready to hatch, that's when you kind of separate them out. Because if there's queen cells on a frame, and there's 2 different queen cells or 3, because they usually do like 4 or so, because something might be wrong with one of them. They want to make sure. So the first one to hatch, the first queen to hatch, will go around and kill the rest of the ones in the cells, different cells. There can only be 1 queen.
You can tell by looking a queen cell?
Not from the egg. No, it's a special little cup that you buy, you put them in, and it's the length of it. The queen cells, now on here I can easily see, because the regular cells look just like that, but a queen cell is about yay long. It's much longer, much bigger, like that.
How long does a queen live?
A queen can live for up to 5 years. We do not mark our queens, but a lot of people do. Every year it's a different color. So, you know, if you've got a queen with a red dot on her, I may even have a picture with one that's marked. That one's not, I don't know. No. But, you know, if you got one with a red dot, and red dots were used in 2023, you know, you've got a 3-year-old queen. You know, that was the way of keeping up with them.
And will she produce eggs every year? For 5
Yes.
years?
Yes, she will start near the 5th year. She'll start really kind of slacking off. Now, when they get,
One deposit of sperm on a virgin flight, they last 5-6 years?
yeah, they're kept in that special chamber. And this time of year, the workers will only live about 40, 45 days. They just work themselves to death. They don't. So 1,500 eggs a day sounds like a lot, but you need that many, you know, to keep going.
What do you do with the dead bees? How, I mean,
They clean house. They will take them out and drop them out somewhere. They clean, they keep it very neat, they want their house just so. Yeah. Yes, ma'am?
How much does it cost to buy a queen bee?
This year, they're close to $30
For what?
for 1 bee. Yeah. Now, we're licensed by the state.
Guarantee.
No, they do not. We're licensed by the state and inspected by the state to sell bees. So all those little hives I talked about being around our shop, we sell those to new beekeepers or somebody that's lost several hives and they want another one. It's 5 frames of brood and food. And brood is babies in different stages of being up to adults, you know. We make sure they're okay and no disease and everything before we sell those. But like it's called a nuke, a nucleus hive. It's a start. And those run around $185 for those. And there's thousands of bees in there. But the queen itself is pretty expensive. And there's different kinds of honeybees. We prefer Italians. They're somewhat tame. Or Caucasians or Carniolas. Usually the meaner the bees are, the more honey they make. But you don't, you know, so you try to find somewhere in the middle of the road. You don't want perfectly docile bees because your honey production will be way down. And that takes me to the next thing. I'm going to try to get on through here and give y'all time to come up and look. But some of the things we do with the honey. I use it, of course, to sell. You know, when Jeff gathers it, I'll go back a little bit. Jeff goes out, he gathers it, he brings it into me in these frames, this size here. And when a bee, another wonderful thing that they do for me, they let me know when the honey's ready. They'll put, when they go out to gather nectar. They make their honey from nectar. I keep having to back up because I forget what I've said. They will go from flower to flower. And they've got this long tongue called a proboscis. It looks like if you were to look at it under a microscope, it looks like a straw. And they suck up the nectar into their honey stomach. It's not their regular stomach, it's just a pouch to carry it till they go back to the hive. And it mixes with the enzymes in that stomach, and then they basically throw it up into the cell, okay? I mean, I know it sounds awful, but that's what they do. And it's just a tiny little bit. And they will, it's very watery when they put it in. It's like 90-some% water when they first put it in the cell. And they will fan it with their wings till they get it to 19% or less of water. How they know? That's a God thing. I don't know, okay? But they will do that, and then they will keep doing it till they get that cell full. And when they get that cell full, and it's all the right water content, they will put a wax cap over it, okay? And that's them saying, okay, this one's ready for you. That's how we know. Now, I have a little instrument called a refractometer that when I extract the honey, I test it to make sure it is 19% or below of water. Every now and then you're going to get a frame that's not completely capped. So there's some that's maybe a little high. And if it is, I put it in a small room, put the bucket of honey in a small room with a dehumidifier and run it for a day or two, and it takes that water, extra water out. So that's the only thing that's going to spoil honey is that water, the extra water. Nothing else will spoil your honey. But of course we make the honey, and I do have some up here for everybody to try if they'd like to after. This is some of the fall. People want to know why it's so dark. The fall honey is almost always darker than your spring honey. It's just what they gather. It's got little bits of pollen and stuff in it. We strain it. When I cut those cappings off, I put them in a big barrel that spins, a centrifuge. It's got a gate on the bottom. I open that gate, it goes into a 5-gallon bucket. On the top of that 5-gallon bucket, I have a double stainless steel sieve. Because there'll be bits of wax, there'll be a bee leg or something else that you might not want in your honey, you know? So we do that, and then when I get ready to bottle it, I have a bottler that I put it in with a gate that I can easily do. So that makes that much easier. But I try to not let anything go to waste. That, let's see, where did I put it? Here it is. The wax, those cappings I cut off to get the honey out, we have an uncapping tray, and I can save those. And then I take a lot of those cappings and I'll put them in a 5-gallon paint strainer bag. And Jeff built me a solar wax melter. It's on an incline like this, and I'll hook it up in there, and as the sun hits it, it gets really hot in there. It melts it, it drips through that bag and then out. And I use a big turkey roaster pan. But a lot of times, this is some of the wax that's dripped, a piece of the wax that's dripped out in the pans. It's not very clean. There's still a lot of stuff in it like that. Can you see that? The wax that's stuff. Oh, yeah, it'll come, depending on how long I leave the pan out there, you know, it can get really thick. But I break that up because there's stuff in it. Here you go. I'll let y'all pass that one around too. And I'll break it up, melt it, and strain it through. The best thing I found is to go to the thrift store on Dollar Day and get some old sweaters and cut those up. Because cheesecloth gets expensive. But I'll strain it a few times, and then I take it and put it in ice cube trays. So once it's done, it comes out in nice, pretty little workable chunks like that. There you go. There, I'll let y'all take that and look at that if you'd like. But that's pure beeswax. And of course, some of the things that we do with the beeswax, I make candles. I have a bunch of different molds and make candles. Beeswax burns slower, burns cleaner than petroleum-based candles. Actually helps clean your air. I use the wax in our lip balm. I make a first aid salve and a solid lotion bar that's got our wax in it. The honey is in our soap. It's really nourishing for your skin.
You manufacture all these, you make all these?
I make all of that. I make everything at our store except for we have honey candy that I don't make and some honey straws that I don't do myself. But I make a cough syrup that's infused with marshmallow root, mullein, and thyme. That's really good. Got a few other things, that I didn't bring today, but we try not to waste the wax. I try to find a few extra things to do with the honey, to give a variety. But that's mostly what we do.
These wax candles are only allowed in the cathedral.
I've heard that. I have.
That's the rule. Now, how much do you produce? How much honey do you produce every year?
It depends on the year. And how many bees we have. Like right now, there's stuff blooming and all of that. You see everything, but there's been no rain. And when there's no rain, the flowers can't produce as much nectar. There's that much less for the bees to gather. So it's probably going to be down a little bit in the spring, unless it rains soon before. It will take off honey probably the very 1st of June. So we may get, pick up a little bit. But we have had as little as 250 gallons and as many as 700 gallons. Yeah. Go ahead, Ann.
Maybe you're gonna get to this, but are y'all still shipping the hives places for pollination?
No, we haven't got into that right now. We're not. That's what our son wants to do. He wants to get grow big enough to do that. Yes, sir.
How does consumption of honey affect a person's blood sugar? I'm diabetic.
It's natural. My husband's diabetic. He's insulin dependent diabetic. It will raise your blood sugar, but not like regular sugar. It's much easier for your body to break down, use naturally. It's a much safer alternative than sugar. Something else we do with the honey is wound healing. I took a class with a guy from the Wound Healing Center up in the mountains. Bacteria cannot grow in honey. So if you've got a wound or something that won't heal, put a little honey on it, wrap it with a little bit of gauze, do that every day, and it should really help. In World War II, the medics carried honey in their backpacks. If they run out of field dressings, they would pour some honey on the wounds so they could get them to the hospital. It's just a wonderful. Yes, ma'am.
Not to interrupt what you were saying, but just a little testimonial. Your healing ointment,
Yeah, the first aid salve.
wonderful.
It's.
It really was
Thank you. I
so
appreciate that. I appreciate that.
And your
I
honey
thank you.
will be on.
I did make a first aid salve that I've been trying to learn a lot about herbs, natural healing. Growing up in the mountains, my mom and dad could take you out and show you this or that, and I was a kid. I didn't pay attention. So I'm having to learn it all over again. But I wanted to make something that 110 was all you needed. It's good for cuts, for burns, for scrapes, insect bites. Now, I have gotten stung since I had the allergic reaction. Luckily it's been on a finger, and I have immediately put it and held it in the first aid salve. It's got a weed that probably growing out here somewhere. It's all around, called plantain, and it draws poisons out. I've still felt bad, but I haven't had to use my EpiPen. Now, I wouldn't tell anybody if you're allergic, to use that instead of your EpiPen. Always have your EpiPen, but it does work.
Do you have a daily routine?
Ma'am?
Do you have a daily routine? In the summer, what do you do regularly?
Like right now, he's checking them to make sure they have enough room because it's swarm season. And if they need more room, he will put another box on. We have some that he can't, my husband stands about here, so he can't reach, he's got to have somebody else reach, because you either make a split or you add more room for them. Yeah. Yes, ma'am?
I have allergies, I've dealt with it all my life.
Wonderful.
Everywhere I've lived, the doctors say, eat a
Local.
teaspoon of local honey every day.
Yeah, the bees are
I've done
gathering
that every
pollen from what you're allergic to.
Yeah.
So that's why, that's the thing.
You
When
got
they
to
fly, when they fly, their wings built up static electricity, basically like when you rub a balloon on your hair. And when they sit on a flower to get the nectar out, the pollen just goes to them, sticks right to them. And they will scrape it down. If you've ever seen a picture of a bee with the big yellow pants pockets, I call them, that's the pollen. And they will take it back. That's the bee's protein. They eat that. It's like their hamburgers, and the nectar's their milkshake. It's the good stuff they like. But I want to leave time for everybody to come up and look. I'll let you try some honey if you'd like. I've got some honey candy. Well, feel free to grab a piece or two. It's really good if you got a tickle. Yes, sir.
Could you talk about the division of labor, how specific the laborers are? I heard this years ago, I can't remember. I mean, bees do one thing and they do it well.
They do. They do. They
All women.
Yeah, it is. It's all women. I go in the school and I said, okay, the one that does this or that or the other, do you think that's a boy or girl? And they, oh, boys do that. That's the heavy lifting stuff. No, it's girls. They kind of get, like this when you tell them the boys don't do anything except look for a girlfriend. But, yeah, depending on their age. But
Barry, talk a minute about bees as pollinators.
the pollinator, yes. Like I say, that static electricity, when they go from plant to plant, that's how plants get, some of what they have falls off on that one, it pollinates them. And usually when I go into the schools, first thing I ask the kids is, who likes watermelon, and you'll get this. And then I can go all the way down to who likes a cheeseburger. Excuse me. And they look at me like I've lost my mind. Bees don't make cheeseburgers. Excuse me, I'm going to get a drink. My throat's getting dry. But if you trace that back, I ask them, I say, okay, where does hamburger come from? Cows. Pretty easy. And what do those cows eat? And then they start thinking, the grains, everything that the cows eat basically has to be pollinated. So you can even trace back hamburgers, and a cheeseburger to bees. Excuse me, if our bees get gone, most of what we eat today would be gone. I have heard that, excuse me.
How can you tell when a hive has too many bees in it? You just see that they have no place to go?
Yeah, they're absolutely covered. You pull out that frame, and this one, in this picture, there's a few bees, but you wouldn't be able to see the comb. They would just be covered. And a lot of times when it's hot, they will do bearding, which is they'll go on the outside of the hive and just sit there because it's cooler and there's more room. And when you notice them doing that, you better check them.
What is it when swarm? They go get under a chair in a yard or something. What's that?
What happens when they swarm, when they know they need more room? This is the one time the queen leaves the hive. She will let them know, communicate that this is going to happen. And they will do these queen cells and raise probably 4 or 5 new queens, okay? And only one of them's going to hatch. One of them's going to, whichever one comes first, that's going to be the queen. And she will stay with the hive, the new queen will. A day or two before she hatches, the old queen will take about half of those bees and they will swarm. They will go somewhere and lie down and form that big ball of bees that you see in pictures. And they will send out scouts, about 20 scouts, and to look for a new place to live. Those scouts will come back and they will say, okay, I think this one, I think this place. They have to agree. They'll keep doing that till every bee agrees on one place. Now, and it doesn't take them, they will rarely stay more than 1 or 2 days before they find a new home. We could learn a lot from bees. But they will agree on a new place that is the best place for us, and then they will all leave and go there.
They have to get walls and attics and places like that.
That's the best place they can find.
So that's the process when people,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you see that, do you set up some more places for them if you're lucky enough?
Yeah, we have been, last week my husband was called to go get a swarm. And luckily it was in a tree that was about this high. It was about this far till it touched the ground. So all he had to do was set a box under them, shake it. And as long as the queen goes in there, the rest of them will go in.
An empty box.
An empty bee box, with some frames and stuff, so they would think, okay, this is a good place. Yeah, but you guys come on up now. Thank you so much. You guys come up and look, and feel free to ask me anything. I'm going to stay for lunch, so if you got more questions, just let me know.
First thing I have to do is go get a car.
Oh, we'll be out to see you next month.
Okay.
When my guys come from Chicago again.
Okay, great.
Thank you